Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I literally today just finished reading Mordew by Alex Pheby. Which I put an L in there when I wrote it down, so oopsie. So this is a fantasy, of course, about this young boy named Nathan Treves. And he lives in a world ruled by someone known as the Master, and he is very powerful. And this place is kind of like everything it's covered, the whole place is covered in mud. Nathan lives, and there's these mud creatures or mud people that come out and can go after you. And Nathan lives with his mom and dad in the slums area. And Nathan has what is known as the spark, this special power that I think what I've interpreted is that he can bring things to life, but he also can kill it. And right now his father has what is known as a lungworm, which is basically worms in your worms, like parasite creatures inside of your body, eating you alive. So the family doesn't have a lot of money. His mom wants him to use the spark to save his dad, but his dad, when he's lucid, is like, don't use it, it's dangerous. It's bad. And his mom, who sells herself to men, she, to make money, to make ends meet for them, she decides, now that Nathan is a teenager, is 13, to see if the Master will take him on, because the Master collects young boys, and I think girls too, and takes them on, but they are never seen again. And I think they get money from it. And on his journey to seeing the Master, he runs into one of his peers, who has been trying to convince him to join his gang of thieves. But Nathan refuses. He also knows about Nathan having the spark and tries to push Nathan's button and provoke him on their ride to the Master's home. But as Gam points out, the Master does not take Nathan, and he doesn't take Gam either. And Nathan decides to check the guy Gam's little gang out and give it a shot, even though he flat out refused before. And they go on he joins their gang, goes on all these different thieving missions, but eventually, and he also joins his gang hoping that maybe Gam will help him get money for his dad, to cure his dad. And eventually he is led back to the Master, who decides to take him on and reveals that maybe he can't trust his newfound friends. And he is taken in by the Master, who teaches him about the spark. This was a little bit different than what I'm used to. It was a very different fantasy. First of all, you could tell the author has written more literary works, more literary fiction. And this is kind of when his first forays into fantasy, I think. Going by the writing style, the sentences are they're less straight to the point and more, artistic in the way they describe things. Very detailed, and which is not honestly a bad thing, because I like that writing style as long as it does get to the point and isn't too wordy. Although I do like Dickens, who can be a little bit wordy sometimes, and even with Dickens, as much as I love him and his novels, I can be like, okay, what did you just say? But anyway, Nathan as a character, he's very, he's likable, some could say he could be seen as a little whiny at times. He's very unsure of himself and is spooked by when he's hanging out with Gam and his gang, and like he sees things that he's not used to, because he's still very like he's still a little bit sheltered Um, but he does show. But I like that he's a very flawed kid. Like, he's not, perfectly good or innocent. Like, sometimes I feel like especially in YA, sometimes the protagonist, or even in the middle grade, the protagonist can be a little too good. I mean, not as good as like Dickens's his two kid characters, his most famous ones, Oliver and the little girl in the Curiosity Shop. They were very angelic characters to the point of annoyingly perfect. And the good Nathan is not perfect in my opinion. He's very flawed and he's easily tempted and has mood swings sometimes. And is easily charmed by the master event when master does come back and takes him to live with him. Speaking of the master is a very interesting character. I feel like we don't know a lot about him. We get bits and pieces, and he ends up not, when Nathan does go back to the master, ends up staying with the master, he's not around him as much. Like, we don't see him as much, where he's mostly with the master's, right-hand man, his assistant, who is the one who actually teaches Nathan. And he's very one of those villains that is like that kind of villain that he believes himself in the right, that he's the hero of the story, he's the good guy, and he is like, you did something bad, that kind of response, that kind of mentality of, oh, you did something bad, I'm gonna have to punish you, that kind of tone, that kind of attitude, which makes him a little scary. I wish we did get a little bit more interaction between him and Nathan, but I'm guessing in the next book we'll get more of the master. Gam and Percy, the whole Gam and Percy part reminded me of Dickens, especially like the gang of thieves that Oliver ends up with. Like Gam feels like very much the artful dodger, and then you have the character of Patch, who kind of reminds me of Fagin. I liked Percy. I like the two girl characters. They were, there's nothing super, there's nothing super special about them, but there wasn't anything wrong with them either. They just felt like, in fact, actually, I feel like we got to know Prissy a little bit, and she's one of those girls who's very moody and acts all tough because, of her lifestyle with her sister. She has to be tough, and she can be very moody. While with the other girl character that comes later in the story, I feel like we don't really get to know her that. We know her a little bit. Like, she seems very passionate character and very much, she's a bit of at least a spitfire. Well, they both are. Both girls are. Let's see. Bellows and Fagin were very similar. They have that slimy vibe that's just like, you can't trust them. But Bellows is more like, throw myself and do whatever it takes to please the one who feeds me, the one that takes care of me, like a sycophant. While Fagin is one of those, like, rubbing my hands together, coming up with some plan to make, and, I'll be your friend, I'll help you out, but if if there's someone that better come along and more powerful, then I'm gonna switch sides, that kind of person. Like I said, the writing style felt very much like in a literary, more literary novel. Very beautiful, beautiful writing. Very descriptive. There's a lot of, mystery with this world. Like, I definitely wanted to know more about it and what happened to it. How did it end up the way it is? I mean, was it created this way for a reason? Which is funny because they imply that, Nathan's told that we're better, we're more advanced, and you have they're competing. Their rival city is Malarkoi, I think that's how you say it, ruled by a woman known as the Mistress. And she's the enemy of the master. Supposedly where they live is better because it's more advanced. But, like, I think it feels, because we do go to Malachor at one point in the story, and we hear a lot about it. When it's like, I almost feel like it's just more like Mordew is not necessarily better. It just has, more physical structure, better, more physical structures. If that makes sense. Probably doesn't, but anyway. So yeah, so a lot of interesting characters. The writing was good, and I was definitely intrigued by all the magic and the spark, wanting to know what it does. And it does feel like one of those magic systems where if you use it too much, there's negative consequences to your physical being and your life force. If you use it too much, which I do like. I like how I do like that. I like when the consequences are so dire to the point where you can't use magic all the time. It makes it like that. Yeah, it's tempting to use it, but then there are consequences to using it all the time. So it's like preventing you from depending on it, becoming addicted and relying too much on it. Yeah, so I don't know what else to say. I really liked it. It's a good story. I'm eager to read the next book, and the ending was really like, oh my god. Did not expect that. I mean, I did kind of get spoiled for it because I accidentally read the description for the sequel, but I didn't think it was gonna be the way it was. Like, I thought things were gonna be like they were gonna think one thing about it, one thing about this is like the script says, oh, it's this happened, but then you're gonna find, nope, that didn't actually happen, kind of thing. If that, but anyway, this was really good. I enjoyed it. I don't know what else to say. I liked it. I thought it was, really good. And I definitely think it's worth reading. So I hope you guys do read it. And if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification button below if you want to be notified about my latest videos. And I will talk to you all later. All right, bye.